You finally said, okay, go kill my parents, my mother and my father. The woman that brought me into the world, people that have fed me and clothed me and housed me and loved me every day of my life, sure, go kill them.
You sure?
On March 1st, 2008, in Alba, Texas, a 911 call was made to report a shooting at the Caffey residence. They lived in a cabin deep inside the woods. When Officer Dickerson arrived, he was the only officer on duty that night. He found that the house was ablaze. So today we are going to be talking about a case that happened on March 1st, 2008, the same day that this video should be coming out, March 1st, same day in history. This case is very disturbing. I'm just warning you, it made me very angry researching it. I'm sure it will make you angry. It's just very sad. It's just very disgusting and very just ridiculous how somebody would get into the mindset that this woman did, or she was a child at the time. And it's just very angering, at least it was for me. So let's talk about who the Caffey family was. Most of the people in the neighborhood knew of the family. They were very active in the church and in the community. The father, Terry, was actually a preacher at the church, so everyone knew him from the church. But the whole family as well, the kids sang for the church choir, they played the church piano, they were very involved in the church. Terry was also a home health aide. His wife, Penny, played piano at the church and cared for the children. Erin, their daughter, was 16 years old, who worked at a Sonic at the time, and they also had 2 little boys, Matthew, aka Bubba, who was a 7th grader, and Tyler, who was a 4th grader. They were an all-American family, it seems like. They're religious, they had good values, they were active in the community. It was everything that you would want to be, essentially. So they seemed like good people. So what happened? How do we go from this all-American family with good morals to the whole family being executed and burned down in their home, with only Erin being the only survivor, or only one that was unharmed? To get into that, let's talk a little bit more about Erin Caffey. Erin was blonde-haired, blue eyes, and she was the least reserved in the family. She was very outgoing, and she was known for her beautiful singing voice in the church. Everyone described her as gushing with innocence. Lots of boys wanted her. She had a lot of attention from boys, and she was still described to be naive and beautiful and sweet and kind and everything good. Everyone did also say that Terry and Penny were very overprotective of everyone in the family, every child, but particularly Erin, because she was the oldest, so you know what happens when you get older. More factors come into play. So at 13 years old, they actually did take her out of public school and begin homeschooling her. This happened because in middle school, there was this girl that was interested in Erin, and she kissed her in the hallway or whatever. I don't think Erin was interested, but this girl was. So they immediately pulled her out of school and began homeschooling her, so shit like that couldn't happen anymore. And they were teaching her the Bible religiously and Bible-based schooling to make sure that the Lord and the Bible was the center of this family's life. When Erin turned 16, they did allow her to get a job, though, and along with her first car, she had a Chevy truck of her own. And her coworkers immediately could tell that Erin was very sheltered. She was homeschooled, so she did only leave the house to go to work and to church, so that makes sense that she was naive and sheltered. She wasn't exposed to normal things that teenagers are when they're in public school. At the church, she was seen kissing a boy, and her parents once again raged and demanded they never saw that boy again. So even though she was sheltered and homeschooled, their parents can't hide everything from her. They can't shelter her completely. We are going to be talking about a boy that she was interested in. I'm not sure if this was the one she saw kissing at church or what. I don't think so. But she did meet Charlie Wilkinson. She met Charlie at Sonic at her job. He would frequent the Sonic, and she would, skate out and give him his food or whatever, and he was immediately struck by her and wanted to get to know her more. So he kept going to the Sonic in hopes to see her, and eventually he did work up the courage to ask her out, and she said yes. So Charlie Wilkinson was the boy that she was interested in when at the age of 16. He was definitely not the most polished and polite guy in town. He was actually the opposite of that. He was said to always be broke, driving down a rundown car. He had sandy blonde hair and blue eyes, and he would frequently be wearing cowboy boots and an oversized cowboy hat. This is Texas. He was a senior when he met Erin back at the Sonic, so he was a little bit older than her. He was described as hot-headed, but he would typically walk away from fights. He enjoyed hunting and fishing, but he did have serious disciplinary problems. He would storm out and slam stuff and throw stuff, but once again, he usually would just walk away before a fight got serious or anything like that. Once they started dating, he would frequent the Caffey household, but they couldn't be alone together a lot of the time. He had to always leave by 9. They weren't allowed to go out to eat and do normal couple things. But he always obliged by their rules, and he even frequented the church that the family would go to in hopes to see her more. So later in the year, her parents were giving her some space because she was doing good. She was listening to their rules. She was being good with her boyfriend, so they decided to give her a little bit more freedom, and they did enroll her in public school again. This meant that she got to spend even more time with Charlie, and they kept agreeing to the family's rules. And since they kept obliging these rules, Terry would even push her curfew forward to 9:30 p.m., and he would allow them to go out occasionally alone, out to dinner or whatever. During school, it was said that Erin and Charlie would be seen kissing a lot in the cafeteria and stuff like that I'm sure her parents would not approve of. But that's what they were doing. During their alone time that they were given, they would get intimate, which I'm sure her parents were not aware of, and they definitely would not approve of that. But they begin to become even more infatuated with one another. Charlie even gave Erin his grandmother's ring, saying that it was not a engagement ring, but it was a promise ring, and he was convinced that they were soulmates. Penny noticed this ring, and she flipped out. I mean, I think it's cute. It's not like he proposed or anything. It was just a cute little, here's my grandma's ring. I hope we'll be together. Penny did not think it was cute. She walked up to him while he was playing basketball and basically was like, what the is wrong with you? She's 16 years old. How could you promise yourself to her? This doesn't make any sense. A little bit of an overreaction in my opinion, but she did embarrass him in front of other people, yelling at him and all this stuff. But this is where the wheels would begin to fall off. This is when they felt like they were being disrespected and he was not obliging their rules, because they would give them more and more freedom, but then he was proposing and they didn't like it. So they wanted to cut back on the freedoms that they were giving them. Penny begun remembering when she first met Charlie, how he didn't really get up, he didn't give them a handshake. And she just felt like, how could he respect my daughter when he can't even respect us? After this, the normal quickly turned abnormal. They only allowed Aaron to see Charlie once a week, and for two young lovebirds in high school, that must have felt like Romeo and Juliet type shit, like they were being broken apart. How could they? Screw you, mom, screw you, dad. Like, that's what they were feeling like, because they went from seeing each other every day to once a week. So that's gotta hurt for them. Erin became depressed. She was not her usual happy self. She was arguing with her mother a lot, and she would often call Charlie and complain about it. She said that her mother even struck her once in the face during an argument, and she told her aunt that she wants to run away with Charlie as soon as she turns 17. I don't know if that's different in Texas, but I thought 18 is adult. Like, why is she waiting for 17? But anyway, things began to progressively get worse and worse, and the parents' rules become more strict. One night, Penny heard Erin on the phone with Charlie past her phone curfew and flipped her shit. She took her phone away, she took her car away for 2 weeks, and they even took away the 1 weekday where she was allowed to visit her boyfriend. So now they were spending no time out of school together at all. And they were pissed. They felt like there was no way out. And contemplating how to fix the problem, Erin kept bringing up killing her parents. She thought if her parents were out of the picture, everything would be better in her eyes. She'd get to be with Charlie. She would get to do whatever she wants. She wouldn't be under the strict regime that this household had. Charlie wanted to do whatever it took to make Erin happy. Charlie was described as a very gullible person, and he was described as a lost puppy dog, or his father described that he has lost puppy dog syndrome, like he always wants to help the lost puppies of the world. And Erin was the most important person to him, so he wanted to help fix her. And if you are constantly being manipulated into thinking that something's normal, like, oh, just kill them, we'll get away with this, like, if she's constantly bringing it up, your morals and your kind of logic will go away. He was manipulated by her completely. Not an excuse, but that's what was going on. Charlie suggested getting Erin pregnant and forcing the family to accept him. If he got her pregnant, they'd have to get married, blah, blah, blah. She didn't like that idea. She said she was too young to be a mom. Charlie also suggested just running away. She didn't like that idea either. She wanted a more permanent solution. So he was trying to suggest alternative routes, and Erin just wasn't buying any of them. And it was said that Erin could get Charlie to do literally anything she wanted, whenever she wanted. On February 27th, the controlling of her parents became even worse, where they demanded that she and Charlie break up, effective immediately. I'm sorry, I wanted to say that because that's funny. Like, you know, you get fired, like, you're terminated effective immediately. Alright, anyway. So, according to Penny's sister, this was because Penny suggested that, Penny's sister suggested that Penny go to the library and go on his myspace.com and check out his profile. And along the profile, he was communicating with other girls, he was talking about sex, he was talking about drugs and alcohol, you know, to a religious person. This was like seeing pictures of the devil. Like, alcohol? No, so she wanted him out of her life for good. I mean, talking to other girls thing, that's the devil, but, you know, who doesn't post about alcohol 18 years old or whatever. So she lost her mind, and Erin put on somewhat of a performance. She was already concocting this plan of hers, so she didn't really give up what her mom was saying. So she was like, oh my god, like, you're right, mom. Like, I'm actually me pretending to cry is actually making me like cry a little bit. Maybe I should be an actress. But she was like, oh my god, mom, like, you're right, like, I've been wanting to break up with him, but I wasn't sure, but like now I'm sure, like, you got me, we got each other, he's gone. So her parents bought it. Erin was a compulsive liar, she was a manipulator, she just got whatever she wanted. So she wanted them to believe that she was ending it, so they did, and her parents were relieved. Let's bring it back to the night of March 1st. So after they put out the fire, Officer Dickerson was met with the body of Terry Caffey spread out on the floor in front of his neighbor's house. And the neighbor was the one who called 911 to report those gunshot wounds. Terry had 11 gunshot wounds. One was even to his head. He had blood caked all over his body, and he was in his pajamas. So this happened in the middle of the night. It was after 3 a.m. This man crawled over 500 yards to his neighbor's doorstep, and by the grace of God, he survived. His journey took him an hour long, and he fell into a creek while he was crawling, and he almost drowned, but he just continued to keep crawling because he said all that was running through his mind was he has to go get to his neighbor's house and he has to identify the killer. That's all he cared about. He wasn't caring about surviving or anything. He just wanted to survive long enough to identify the killer for his family's sake. He cried and told the officer that it was Charlie Wilkinson who had killed his entire family. He explained that Charlie was his daughter's boyfriend, and they had just forced them to break up, so that's motive enough. Officers end up locating Charlie in a trailer with guns next to him, blood, a shit ton of other stuff. They also arrested Charlie and his accomplices. And while they were kind of searching his room, they found like a used condom on the floor, and they were just, searching through the evidence when they saw this like blonde hair, and they thought it was a stuffed animal or a doll, but it was actually Erin. So Erin was like described as very petite and very small, so they mistook a person for a doll, but then they were like, oh shit, who is that? And then they treated her like a victim at first because she was, again, putting on a performance. She was saying, she just kept mumbling, fire, fire, smoke, smoke, smoke. Even though she didn't smell like smoke, she didn't smell like fire. Like, I don't know about you, you could sit in front of a campfire and stink like smoke for days. No, if you shower. You could stink like smoke for hours until you shower. That's why I shower immediately after that, because I hate the smell of smoke. But she's claiming that she woke up in this house that was engulfed in flames, and she's going, smoke, smoke, but she smells like roses. Like, honey, no one's buying it. They did buy it at first because why wouldn't they believe this little girl? But they were like, you don't smell like smoke, but whatever. But yeah, it was sick, dude. There was the used condom on the floor. So again, I don't know what's with these boys that kill their girlfriend's parents and then want to do it afterwards, just like the whole Gypsy Rose story. But she continued to put on this act like she was terrified. She said she woke up in smoke, and these men with samurai swords kidnapped her and took her to this trailer and drugged her, and she didn't know what was going on until just now. But then they actually interviewed the Charlie and the accomplices, and they were like, it was all Erin. Like, it was all Erin. This was her idea. She wanted us to do this. And Charlie explained that he tried to reason with her. He said there's other options. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do this. And he even said to her, I'd have to kill your little brothers too to leave no witnesses. And she said, I don't care. Do what you have to do. So she even was willing to kill her two innocent. Everybody was innocent in this story, but she was okay with killing her little brothers as well, who their reason was so that they could be free from her parents. But what do the little brothers have to do with it? She was still okay with that. He ended up shooting Terry multiple times and nearly decapitating Penny. When the gun was jammed, according to Terry, this was first-hand witness, he saw her laying there. They had the gun jammed. He can't help her. He was shot 11 times. He was bleeding. He was on the floor, passed out. But as he was laying there, he saw them take out a samurai sword and cut her throat. And he said that, like, the images burned in his mind of her, like, gasping for air and gurgling. Terrible, very scary. That I couldn't even imagine. He probably sees that image in his mind every single day, that the love of your life you have to watch die like that, and you're defenseless. So that is absolutely heartbreaking. I'm gonna play a clip about Terry explaining it to Dr. Phil.
A little bit gunfire, I'm getting hit, and I remember throwing my body over Penny trying to protect her. I took several shots in the chest and took a blast in the face, and then that shot blew me out of bed. I'm laying down in a pool of blood, and I'm trying to speak, but I can't. And I could hear heavy breathing, somebody standing over me, and I could hear the reloading of the gun. I was shot 11 times. I could hear my wife screaming, saying, "Where's Terry? Where's Terry?" I would hear the voice of the killers. He told her, "Why don't you just die?" He put the sword that he had to her throat, and he rammed it in, and he slit her, nearly decapitating her. And every time she'd take a breath, I could hear the gurgling of the blood come out of her neck. Now I can hear my boy screaming out. I could hear footsteps going upstairs to my children. My 13-year-old son, Matthew, he began to cry out, "No, Charlie, no, please don't do this. Why are you doing this?" And for the very first time, I realized Erin's boyfriend, Charlie, was the killer. I really began to panic. I can't save her, but I got to get to my children. But I'm trying to get up, and I'm just slipping them on blood. Matthew was shot in the head and in the back of the neck. They went into the next room, which was Erin's room, and Tyler was hiding in the closet. And they took this samurai sword, and they each took turns stabbing Tyler to death. I'm assuming at this point that even Erin was dead, and I just collapsed face down. I remember waking up, and I felt real hot. I realized that the house was on fire. I'm choking on blood and smoke, and as I climbed over the bed trying to get away from those flames, that's when I landed on the floor beside Penny, and just to see what I saw was just, can't even put it into words. I had just witnessed the murders of my family. I knew I needed to get help, get to my neighbors, but they lived about 400 yards away. I'm on my belly and I'm literally just dragging my body like that. At some points I would find trees and I'd pull myself up, hold on, and I would take 1 or 2 steps and I would collapse and fall face down in the dirt. I said, "God, just let me make it to my neighbors. I gotta identify the killers." The door slings open and there's Tommy Gaston, my neighbor, looking down at me, and he just has this look of shock on his face. I said, "Penny and the boys are gone. Charlie did it. Charlie did it."
After they killed the parents, they ended up going to the children. Bubba, the older one, tried to put up a fight and he was kicking Charlie, and then the other guy there just shot him in the head and he fell onto his back. The youngest one, completely heartbreaking, was hiding in a closet. everyone could probably remember hiding in a closet as a kid, like, and him probably thinking he would be safe in there, and they disgustingly and disturbingly, they all took turns stabbing this poor little boy, this poor little 4th grader. I don't know who could freaking do that, but Charlie said he couldn't watch, but he ended up taking a stab at him. So how could you not? You're so full of shit. How could you not watch? But then you're doing that. So they died in such a brutal way, and it is absolutely terrible. Like, this was not just execution, like a gunshot and then darkness. This was brutal. This was very heated and very angry. This was, I mean, it's terrible they all had to go, but they all had to go in such a disgusting, brutal, terrifying way that it really did piss me off so much, like, reading this. And it makes me have such a hatred for all these people that were involved. The boys that did it, and Aaron, who was the mastermind of it all. It is just so heartbreaking to even comprehend. And it's also so sad, like, because they're children. He thought kicking would fight back when this person had a gun, and the other one thought hiding in a closet would protect him. So it's just so sad, because it shows you how naive and innocent they were. Terry kind of described the timing. He said he heard the family's dog barking at 1 a.m. And they woke up, but then, it was nothing. They went back to sleep. And it turns out, from the trio's point of view, they actually were going to commit it at 1 a.m., but the dog was barking so loud it kind of scared them away, and they left. And Aaron called them and said, "Come back, I'll shut my dog up, come back, do this." So again, it was sad, because if she would have just sighed and said, "Thank God they didn't actually do this at 1 a.m. No, she said, "Come back" at 3 a.m., like begging for them to come back. So she left the door unlocked for them, and they did return at 3 a.m. The door was unlocked, everyone was sleeping, and they went to the parents' bedroom first, and then the children. Previously, Charlie was in the army. He brought that up, saying that he doesn't have a conscience. He said he does what he has to do. That was his job. And that is so, like, lame and disrespectful to people that are in the army. They are doing their job to protect our country and to fight for our country. They don't kill innocent family members like this for no reason. This wasn't a job. No one told you to do this besides some fucking 4-foot-tall blonde girl that was 16 years old. You're taking orders from her? Like, seriously? Saying this is a job? It's just so irritating. And he was just saying, essentially, that those deaths did not weigh heavy on his mind. He said that Erin was happy when it was over, saying that she was so glad that it was done. After they were done committing these murders, they poured lighter fluid all over the house and set the house on fire, and then they fled to the trailer. The other man in this story that was the accomplice was Charles Wade, and Bobby Johnson was a girl. I think they were dating or whatever. Yeah, sweetheart's adventure, I guess. They said they just did the job for the money. They ransacked the house after the job was completed, and they just wanted money. I think Charlie said that he was going to pay them or whatever. Wade was formerly in special ed classes, and he as well said he had no remorse or feelings about their death. Like, he basically just doesn't care. He casually explained what happened, and he did recall that Erin was screaming, "Holy shit, that was awesome," after it was over. holy shit, you're a fucking piece of shit. And after all of this questioning, they immediately went to go arrest Erin, and all 4 of them were in custody. Erin denied everything at first, and she made up the story again about being drugged and all this, but nobody bought it. Sorry, Erin, no one's buying your story anymore. Not even Dr. Phil. She finally then admitted to plotting it, and all 4 of them are serving life, thank God. They pled guilty to avoid the death penalty. They took a plea bargain, and her father actually forgives her. Which is crazy. I mean, that's undying love right there. But he forgives Erin, and he believes her. He believes that it was just a series of bad choices, one after the other. So yeah, that was a hard story to tell. That was a hard story to research. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments. Kind of said everything I had to say already. It's just like terrible. Like, it's just so, like, there's no words to describe how evil it was. I can't wrap my mind around how evil people are. Like, what did they do that was so bad? They told you to break up with your scummy boyfriend? Like, who cares? Like, you're going to slaughter your whole family, people that love you, for some stupid boy? Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, I know your mind's not developed yet at 16, but, like, come on. Come on. Who thinks of that at 16? Who thinks of that? Like people say, oh, she was just a kid. No. You think about going to Taco Bell after school when you're 16. You don't think about slaughtering your family. Oh, this case just makes me so mad. But that is this terrible, terrible story that took place a similar time from today. The terrible story of the Caffey family murders. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. I'll talk to you guys. Let me know what you thought. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. ASMR. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good day. For real, think logically about things. Go outside. Take breathers. Do self-care. Prioritize your mental health. Hug your family. Bye, guys.